Hey there, welcome to Little Fixes, a podcast for the sassy, classy, and a little choosy Bhartiya Nari. This is Matri. मैं और मेरे गेस्ट शेयर करते हैं सिंपल प्रैक्टिकल आइडियाज जो आप इजीली फॉलो कर सकते हैं टू गेट क्लोजर टू द काइंड ऑफ लाइफ यू वांट टू लिव. We talk about career, self-care, social media tips, parenting, relationships, and so much more to help you thrive. All of this is mixed with a lot of laughter. So, my lovely friend, continue what you're doing and join me in this real talk. Hello, thank you for joining me today. How is pandemic parenting treating you? आज बातें होंगी अपने बच्चों से डील करने की. हमारे टाइम से हमारे किड्स के टाइम में बहुत ज्यादा डिफरेंस है एंड सो दे हैव वेरी डिफरेंट एटीट्यूड्स टू. वी लाइक टू कॉल देम स्ट्रॉन्ग विल्ड, जबकि पहले ऐसे बच्चों को स्टबर्न कहते थे. लाइक अगर हम अपने मम्मी पापा की एक भी बात नहीं सुनते थे तो बच्चा ढीठ हो गया, स्टबर्न है, किसी की बात नहीं मानता है. बट आजकल मुझे लगता है बहुत सारे बच्चे ऐसे हैं. आई नो कि सब किड्स ऐसे नहीं होते हैं, बट बहुत सारे हैं. उनमें से एक मेरी भी है हु इज जस्ट 4 years old and she refuses to listen to me unless I'm going her way. तो और साथ ही मुझे ये भी लगता है कि हैविंग टू स्टे एट होम ऑल द टाइम, इस चीज ने भी इन बच्चों का एटीट्यूड, बिहेवियर थोड़ा चेंज कर दिया है. जब वो हमारी बात नहीं सुनते हैं तो हम फ्रस्ट्रेट होते हैं, गुस्सा होते हैं, फिर गिल्ट होता है. बट देयर आर बेटर वेज टू डील विद सच बिहेवियर, जिससे आप किड्स पे अपना पॉजिटिव इन्फ्लुएंस बढ़ा सकते हैं और साथ ही यू कैन गेट योर वे टू. इसलिए आज मैंने बुलाया है पेरेंटिंग कोच रिद्धि देवरा को, जो बताएंगी कि कैसे जेंटली येट फर्मली हम पेरेंटिंग कर सकते हैं विदाउट गोइंग क्रेजी. सो रिद्धि, वी आर thrilled to have you on Little Fixes. Welcome.
Hi, Maitri. Hi. Thank you so much for hosting me on your page.
Okay, yes. So Riddhi, I told my listeners that you are a parenting coach, a parenting influencer. तो अपना
Right.
आप थोड़ा सा इंट्रो हमें दीजिए कि how did you start in this field and what all you do?
So Maitri, I'd never really decided as a child or as an adult that this is something that I want to do and I want to be a parenting coach. But 2017, when I gave birth to my son Rajveer, as a first-time mother, like most mothers, I had my own challenges. And for the first time in my life, I really felt out of control. You know, I was planning things, but things were not going according to the plan. Sometimes, I wanted to do a few things for myself and I was not able to do it. If something happened to my child, I started blaming myself that, I was not being able to do it right. And that's when I decided that, I don't want this to continue forever. And I decided to educate myself. And the day I decided that, I started feeling very empowered. So I took a lot of parenting courses, research articles on the internet, beautiful parenting blogs. So I started reading all of that and I learned a lot and I started feeling empowered and I stopped blaming myself for everything that was happening with my child. And I realized that there is so much power if you really educate yourself. And also, almost after 6 months of giving birth to Veer, I got introduced to Nichiren Buddhism. And the topic for one of our discussion meetings was the importance of sharing your experience with others. And I don't know what happened to me during that meeting. I kept thinking about sharing my experience as a mother with all the other mothers out there. Something very strong. Just for 1 hour, I kept thinking constantly, that this is something that I want to do. So I come back home and I tell my husband that, I want to do this, but I don't know how to do it. And he just looks at me and he tells me, it's so simple. Why don't you make an Instagram page and do it on Instagram? That's where mostly moms hang out. And I was like, I cannot do it because I was very, very shy. I still am. And the whole idea of making my Instagram profile public was huge. I just didn't want to do it. I was very reluctant and very, very hesitant. I told him, no, this is something I can definitely not consider. But he didn't let go. And we just turned this into a bet. And the conditions of the bet were this. So he said, we'll do one thing. We'll just keep it open for one night. And next morning, if you get more than 500 followers, we'll keep it open. And if you get less than 500 followers, like an increase by 500, we'll shut it. And I was so sure that I'll not get it because on my private profile, I had some 200, 300 followers. And that those also friends and family. So I was very confident that 500 to nahi aayega next day. So I was like, theek hai. And so in the night, just before going to bed, I made my profile public and I slept. Next day when I woke up, I had some 800 new followers. and I had some 2000 plus notifications, and that has still not happened till date. I've not seen such a huge jump in my follower count. I just feel that I very, very strongly attracted that, because even on my closed profile, before I had actually made it public, I had only content on parenting. I made my Instagram page just to record and document all those small moments with my son, to because I love writing. So, I was just writing how I spend my day with him, or if something went wrong, how did I fix it? And we starting to walk, all those kind of stories. And then I had such beautiful messages from parents saying, that this is something that I tried, it worked for me also, maybe you can try this. They were also giving me ideas. And some parents were, some others were like, I'm going to try this for sure, maybe it works for me, I'm going through the same situation right now. And that's when I really felt that there is a huge need for good content on parenting, and that you don't really, and that time I was not even an expert. I was just learning, and I was writing what I was learning. And that's when I realized that, you don't really have to be, an expert to actually help people. You can share what's happening with you as a parent, and maybe your learnings can also help somebody else. And that's how
Yes.
it started. And then, it kept growing. And then, during COVID, I got a lot of extra time. So I started creating digital products, physical products for parents, also started creating a lot more content on parenting. Then, when the responsibility increases, then you also have to keep learning more. And then I got a certification in parenting. And that's how it happened. And now I'm a parenting coach, and I have this beautiful company called Easy Parenting Hub, and a beautiful tribe of so many amazing mothers. And I'm doing workshops for corporates, schools, hosting my workshops. So it's beautiful, and nothing, I did not plan anything. It just kept happening, and I just kept responding to what mothers were asking for, what parents were asking for. And somewhere, I feel that the mothers actually made the whole business for me. I was just, acting as a servant and delivering everything that they were wanting. And that's how it took shape. And yes, it's a long journey. It's just begun. And right now I'm on a mission to help 100,000 parents live a happy, holistic, spiritual life. That's my mission. And I'm working very hard, and I love what I'm doing. And this is how it happened. So yeah, that's my story. And yes, and just one message that I have, and something very beautiful that I read was that, you don't find your mission, but your mission finds you. And when your mission finds you, you have to respond. So, a lot of us as mothers, we have so many ideas that, we want to do this. So that could actually be a mission that's actually trying to find you. But sometimes, because of a fear, or because we don't feel that we can do it, and because of that resistance, we don't respond to it. So I just feel that if you feel something is strongly chasing you, then you start responding to it, and that is going to be your story.
Yes, yes. Otherwise, it will go away to someone else because तब तक वो आपको chase करता
Right.
रहेगा. Yeah, so this is a wonderful story. You come from a place of service, और आपको अपना मिशन एक मोमेंट में मिला. Your husband encouraged you. You got 800 followers overnight without posting anything. It's like you broke Instagram for a
Yeah,
night.
even I still have not been able to figure out how it happened. And, why is it still not happening? Like, why am I not getting that kind of numbers now? But yes, I'm happy that it happened.
Yes, yes. So this is so wonderful, and I'm sure जो आपने अभी बोला है ये और mothers को already inspire कर चुका है. And now let's move on to parenting side of it. So I also
Right,
have a 4-year-old. और उसके
right.
होने के बाद से my personality changed a lot, और मुझे मेरा जो गुस्सा था वो पहले इतना बाहर नहीं आता था. I did not get as many opportunities. उसके होने के बाद मुझे गुस्सा ज्यादा आने लगा. My husband was like कि मैंने तुम्हारा ये साइड कभी नहीं देखा था. तो देयर हैज
Okay.
बीन चेंजेस. फिर उसके बाद आई ऑल्सो ट्राई टू एजुकेट माई सेल्फ कि नहीं ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए, ये करना चाहिए, ये नहीं करना चाहिए. तो ठीक है, आई लर्न समथिंग, एंड ऑब्वियसली एवरी मदर लर्न्स. सो लेकिन मैंने ये
Right,
देखा है कि हमारे आसपास बहुत सारे ऐसे बच्चे हैं नाउ एटलीस्ट जो बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग विल्ड हैं. जैसे मैंने पहले भी बोला कि इनको स्टबर्न भी कहते हैं, कि जो बात नहीं सुनते आपकी. सिंपल सिंपल बात में भी
right,
देयर फर्स्ट आंसर इज नो. माय हस्बैंड सेज कि ये तुमसे
right.
सीखा है इसने बच्ची ने, बट मैंने बहुत सारे बच्चों को ऐसा करते हुए देखा है. तो uh,
I like your husband's logic. You've taught him.
yeah, it's my
You've taught
habit.
her.
Like what, whenever he suggests something, I my first response is mostly no. So he's like, जो तुम
Okay.
बोलती हो बच्ची वही देख के वही सीख गई है. तो maybe, but I would like to know from you कि what exactly are the characteristics of a stubborn child, or strong-willed as we like to call them.
Right. Yes. So I like how you said strong-willed. So mostly जो बच्चे होते हैं ना, I don't like to call them stubborn. They are very persistent, I would say.
हम्म
तो उनको जो चीज चाहिए वो लेके ही रहते हैं.
हम्म
So supposing, like, and this is a quality that we lose with time. We give up on things way too easily. जैसे हमें कुछ चाहिए पर हम अपने माइंड में सोच लेते कि ये बहुत ही नामुमकिन है और this is very difficult, we'll not be able to get it, and then we give it up. And we
हम्म
don't work very hard towards it. But with kids, it's not like that. उनको अगर कोई चीज चाहिए तो वो पहले आपसे अच्छे से मांगेंगे. अगर आप उनको अच्छे से नहीं देंगे तो थोड़ा रोएंगे. And if you still don't give it, then they'll lie down on the floor, bang their heads on the wall, do whatever it is that they want. But वो लेके ही रहेंगे जो उनको चाहिए. So this is actually a great quality, and this is a quality that we want them to have when they grow old. But when it happens when they are small, we want to fight it. We want to remove and get rid of this quality.
हम्म
तो अब क्या है कि of course it's difficult for us also, and now it is very difficult for us because, and it is the level of difficulty is different for different parents based on their tolerance. जैसे कि अगर एक बच्चा, जैसे अगर आपका बच्चा और मेरा बच्चा दोनों सेम है बिल्कुल, let's just consider that they are identical doing the same thing,
हम्म
but maybe you are more tolerant, Maitri, and I'm less tolerant. So
हम्म
even though our kids are same, our reactions will be very different and we will end up with different consequences. Like maybe your
हम्म
house will be a calm house and my house will be like, a power struggle. Because, I'm not tolerant and I'm also shouting when my son is throwing a tantrum or is crying or is being stubborn. So it's very important to understand that एक क्या होता है कि एक आप स्टबर्ननेस को कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं और एक होता है कि आप स्टबर्ननेस को और बढ़ा सकते हैं. एंड वो अगर आप कर रहे हैं, जैसे इफ यू आर बीइंग लेस टॉलरेंट एंड यू आर एक्चुअली पुटिंग फ्यूल एंड इंक्रीजिंग द स्टबर्ननेस, देन यू आर मेकिंग इट वर्स फॉर योरसेल्फ. So now in this situation, what happens is that you can either change your child or you can change yourself. But the easier thing to do is to actually change yourself. राइट, बिकॉज आपको खुद को चेंज करना आसान है, सामने वाले को भी आप चेंज करना चाहेंगे तो वो मुश्किल है. राइट. तो फर्स्ट चीज जो आपको रेडी रहना है कि आपको खुद को अपना खुद का टॉलरेंस थोड़ा इंक्रीज करने का ट्राई करना है, तो आपको ऑटोमेटिकली वो स्टबर्ननेस कम लगने लगेगा. बट इफ यू आर वेरी इनटॉलरेंट एंड रिजिड, देन दैट स्टबर्ननेस विल स्टार्ट टू लुक इवन मोर टू यू. So first is work on your own tolerance. Second is be prepared. This is normal. ऐसा कोई भी बच्चा नहीं है पूरे वर्ल्ड में जो कभी ना कभी stubborn नहीं है. They are always stubborn. So if you are prepared that yes, my child can sometimes be stubborn, then you will be more in control. जैसे कि अगर आप कोई डॉक्टर के पास जाते हैं, ठीक है, और वो डॉक्टर हमेशा आपको टाइम से देख रहा है, ठीक है, जैसे अगर आप 5 बजे का आपने अपॉइंटमेंट लिया, वो आपको 5 बजे ही मिलते हैं और आपको 5 बजे ही देखते हैं, तो आपका एक्सपेक्टेशन वैसा सेट हो गया कि 5 बजे ही मुझे वो मिलेंगे. पर सोचिए कोई इमरजेंसी हो गया उनको कोई दिन एंड वो 6 बजे आपको देख रहे हैं एंड ही इज 1 hour लेट. So what will happen? You will start feeling very irritated. Like, how can he make me wait for 1 hour? But if there is another doctor who is very unpredictable, sometimes he'll give you an appointment for 5, but he'll attend you at 5:30, attend to you at 5:30 or attend to you at 6:30. So you already have your expectations कि he might not look at you immediately. So you'll carry something as a backup. कि I'll take my laptop or I'll take a book. I'll sit and read that while I'm waiting to meet the doctor. So you are prepared, right? So now even though this doctor is also, attending to you after 1.5 hours, you'll still be relaxed. Right? Because आपको पहले से आपका वही expectation set है कि मेरे को लेट से देखेंगे. Right? So with kids also, if you have that expectation set that yes, my child can sometimes be stubborn, then you are prepared, right? And if you are prepared, then your irritation will be less. But
See,
if you
I
are
have also
always
seen. Oh, okay. So one thing I would like to just say that I have also seen कि जैसे ढाया है my daughter, तो कई बार क्या होता है उसकी सेम चीज पे मेरा रिस्पॉन्स मेरे मूड पे बहुत डिपेंड करता है. इफ आई एम इन अ गुड मूड तो वो वही चीज करेगी, या कई बार उससे भी कुछ ज्यादा खराब काम करेगी, मतलब ज्यादा नॉटी बिहेव करेगी, बट आई विल बी लाइक ठीक है, इट्स ओके. और समटाइम्स व्हेन आई एम नॉट फीलिंग वेल, आई एम फीलिंग ओवरवेल्ड, तो आई विल बर्स्ट आउट. राइट. तो वो भी सरप्राइज हो जाती है कि मम्मा कितनी अनप्रेडिक्टेबल है. बट दिस इज व्हाट जो आप बोल रहे हो, इट इज मेकिंग सो मच सेंस.
Right. And I was coming to this point. I'm glad that you are doing this and you mentioned this. So Maitri, what happens? So first is, like I've mentioned 2 points, that work on your tolerance, prepare yourself for the situation in advance. Third is focus on self-care. ये बहुत लोग बोलते हैं कि ना self care करो. But I feel what is self-care? Self-love. कि आप खुद से प्यार करिए. Don't feel guilty when you're doing things for yourself. So when you are attending to yourself, and especially in the morning, after you wake up, for half an hour at least, I would recommend 1 hour, but at least half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
You find for yourself two very simple things like 10 minutes yoga, 10 minutes writing gratitude notes, or 10 minutes reading some nice book or watching a nice inspirational video. If you do this consistently for 30 days, you will change as a person. ये
Mm-hmm.
गारंटी है. अगर आप हाफ एन आवर
Wow.
हर दिन सुबह, हमें ऐसे लगता है कि कितना काम है, कब करेंगे, छोड़ो ना, ये छोड़ देते हैं. Then the first thing we remove from our list is things that we want to do for ourselves.
Yes.
No, that should be the last thing that you should remove. That is your top priority. That is
Mm-hmm.
to be highest on your list. You will not let go of it no matter what work you have, how
Mm-hmm.
busy you are, if whatever professional personal commitments you have. This is your main commitment. So when you
Mm-hmm.
do that, when you have recharged your mind, your body, your soul, then what happens, you're more willing to give, because now you have already received
Mm-hmm.
energy. No, you received energy from the universe, you received energy from outside by doing all of these good things. So now that you've received, you're in a state to give more. So
Mm-hmm.
now when people are coming to you and asking you for something, you don't get irritated and snappy,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? So now you will feel that, okay, I'll do it, I'll give it, I'll so these three things, like tolerance, self-care. Second was what? Tolerance, and then being prepared and self-care. If you do these three things, जो आपको stubbornness लग रहा है ना आपके बच्चे में, वो
Mm-hmm.
automatically आपको काफी कम लगने लगेगा. And this is easiest to start with, because it is easiest to work on yourself, and it is difficult to work on somebody else. वो कोई भी हो सकता है, आपका बच्चा, spouse, in-laws, parents, siblings, could be anybody. In our case, it is kids. So it is more. But now, what is it that you can do for your kids after you have done these 2-3 things for yourself? इसके बाद भी अगर आपको लग रहा है कि नहीं, आपको बच्चे के लिए भी मतलब सब कुछ करने के बाद भी आपको बहुत डिफिकल्टी हो रहा है स्टबर्ननेस हैंडल करने में, तो
Mm-hmm.
अब हमें ये समझना है कि why are kids stubborn and why do they
Mm-hmm.
really
Yeah.
throw
This
tantrums?
is my next
Why?
question also.
So now अब ये आप बोल सकते हैं कि I've done everything, I'm being tolerant and I'm doing self-care, and I'm also prepared that my child is going to be stubborn, but still sometimes I feel that even after doing everything, I'm not being able to handle my child. So how can I fix my child's stubbornness? तो
Mm-hmm.
आपको पहले ये समझना है कि बच्चा stubborn होता क्यों है, and why do they really have tantrums? So this is because of their underlying belief system. So
Mm-hmm.
what is the belief system that kids operate from? They have one belief that we should never go through any difficult, frustrating situations in our life. Like, our life should be like smooth
Mm-hmm.
and easy. Whatever I want, I should get. That is the belief system that kids operate from. And then the second belief system that they have is that I should have the best of everything. In terms of,
Mm-hmm.
if they're racing with you, they always want to be first. If
Huh.
they see a nice toy, they want it. They see their friends having some nice car and they want that car. So they
I'm
always
also
want the
like
best
that,
of
I
everything.
think.
Right? So they always want that. So this is their underlying belief system. So now if you forcefully take away something from them which they don't want to give up on, let's say the screen, तो क्या होता है कि आप उनको एक डिफिकल्ट सिचुएशन में डाल रहे हो, तो वो stubborn हो जाते हैं and they have tantrums. So this is one reason, when you're taking away something forcefully or you're giving them something forcefully, sometimes when we are force feeding them. So
हाँ.
जब हम उनको जबरदस्ती कुछ दे रहे हैं तो भी वो irritate होकर tantrums throw करते हैं. Or sometimes you go to a shop with them, they want a toy, you don't buying that, you are not getting it for them, they'll start throwing a tantrum because they want it that badly. So ये सिचुएशन में वो करते हैं. तो ये सारे सिचुएशन वो ऐसा इसलिए बिहेव करते हैं बिकॉज ऑफ देयर अंडरलाइंग बिलीफ सिस्टम, जो हमने अभी डिस्कस किया कि नो डिफिकल्ट सिचुएशंस इन लाइफ शुड हैव द बेस्ट ऑफ एवरीथिंग. सो नाउ डोंट ट्राई टू टारगेट द टैंट्रम डायरेक्टली, यू टारगेट द अंडरलाइंग बिलीफ सिस्टम. राइट, यू चेंज देयर बिलीफ सिस्टम. अगर आपका थॉट प्रोसेस चेंज होगा तो आपका एक्शंस भी चेंज होगा. Right? Same for us. We have our belief systems, but if I can manage to change your belief system, or you can manage to change my belief system, that's the only way you can change the way I behave. But unless you cannot change my belief system, you cannot change my actions. So with kids, if you want to reduce their stubbornness, if you want to reduce their tantrums, you have to change their belief system. तो वो बिलीफ सिस्टम आप कैसे चेंज करेंगे? आप उनको स्टोरीज बताएंगे या आप उनसे बात करेंगे एंड आप उनको ये समझाएंगे कि लाइफ में समटाइम्स यू हैव टू गो थ्रू डिफिकल्ट सिचुएशंस, समटाइम्स यू माइट नॉट वांट इट बट यू स्टिल हैव टू डू इट. राइट? एंड आई एम हियर टू हेल्प यू इफ यू वांट माय हेल्प. But in life, you will not always get whatever you want. You'll not get the whole sky. So through stories, through communication, through talking, through telling them about, some difficult situations that you went through and how you dealt with it, how you managed to overcome it. So you tell this and slowly you will see that their beliefs will change. And then they will not, throw so much random. Like for my son, I'll give you an example. So every time we were running, and if he lost, he used to cry a lot. So then, I started telling him stories about, sometimes you lose, sometimes I'll win. And then also changing that, associating that emotion with an action. So, what I did, I told him that if you win, I'm going to congratulate you. If I win, you have to congratulate me. So if, so now what happens that instead of crying, he starts to congratulate me. So I've replaced that emotion of crying with an action. So now he knows what to do if he loses. But usually what happens if, let's say, if children lose, they don't know what to do. So they start crying.
Yeah.
Right? But अगर आप उनको कोई action दे दे जो आपको करना है, if you win, you can jump. If you lose, you congratulate. So, that also makes it very easy for them to know what to do. So it's very important for us to actually give them that emotional vocabulary, because kids don't have emotional vocabulary. So we have to associate actions with emotions to teach them how to express how they are feeling. If you're feeling angry, you can stamp your feet, you can clench your fist, or you can have a glass of water, you can hug mommy. So you tell them these things.
Okay.
Because they are not, their brains are not developed enough to come and tell you that, what, mommy, I'm feeling very angry. Can you give me some time? Sometimes as adults also, we have it, but we don't have, we're not able to manage it at that moment, and we snap. So we cannot expect that from a 2-year-old, 4-year-old child. So this is what you should do. And of course, all those extra points that we know, you stay calm, you breathe in, you go to a new place. All of that, I'm sure most of us are doing. Most of us know of it, but we find it very difficult to actually do those things. But yes, of course, those are simple and effective. So you should definitely use them, because anything, changing the belief system is not going to happen in one day. It's going to take time. So, till then, if your child is being stubborn, you have to stay calm. If you start shouting with your child, it's going to be a power struggle, and you're just making things worse for yourself. So you really have to stay calm. Second thing, you should have a few action steps that you will do when your child is being stubborn or is throwing a tantrum. So what is it that you can do to stay calm? So, you can tell yourself that, if my child is going to behave like this, I know that this is going to irritate me. I know that it's going to make me react, or or it's going to force me to react. And I commit that I'm not going to react. But you know what? I'm going to instead just walk out of the room, have a glass of water, and pretend like nothing happened. So, you have a few action steps for yourself that if this happens, this is what I will do. So, this might sound very funny and all, but it really, really works. Like, अगर आप करोगे तो आपको like इसमें पूरा वो लगेगा कि yeah, this is actually helping me. And initially, when you do it for the first few times, you might actually feel weird. What is it that I'm doing? This is so strange. But if it works for you, you will feel that this is the best thing for you. And you keep doing it every time it happens. Right? So I feel that if we do all of this, probably we'll be in a very, very good state. And some stubbornness will always be there. You have to accept it, embrace it, and just, take it as it comes.
Okay, so let me give you a situation कि जो मेरी बच्ची है, she doesn't want to write. मतलब she is just 4 years old, तो I can also understand कि उसके छोटे हाथ हैं या she gets tired, whatever. But उसके यहाँ स्कूल में daily थोड़ा-थोड़ा writing work आता है. But every time she is asked to write, मुझे नहीं लिखना. रोज उसको समझाते हैं. Sometimes she will agree कि yes, mama, if I don't write, I will not be able to go to office. I will not be able to work. कभी-कभी बहुत अच्छे से बोलेगी और थोड़ा सा लिख भी लेगी. But most of the times या तो वो लिखेगी ही नहीं या फिर इतना गंदा लिखेगी गुस्से में कि you want to erase it all. तो ऐसी सिचुएशन है, तो इसमें हम क्या बोले बच्चे से, क्योंकि उसको लॉजिक से भी समझा दिया, गुस्से से भी समझा दिया, बट शी स्टिल डजंट वांट टू राइट, बट क्योंकि स्कूल का काम है, शी हैज टू डू इट. क्या कर सकते हैं इसमें?
राइट. तो सी द थिंग इज दैट जब भी आप बच्चों को ज्यादा कोई चीज के लिए फोर्स करेंगे, दे विल वांट टू डू लेस ऑफ इट. This is normal human behavior. Like if you are, let's say, if you're fond of cooking, you will cook with pleasure every day, right? But if for somebody who is not fond of cooking, and if you are forced to cook every day, you'll not do a great job at it, right? You'll do it out of irritation, and you'll not be very great. You'll just do it for the sake of doing it. Same with kids, when you're running after them with an activity, they want to run away from it. So you don't want to, even though your impulse is to make them do it, and your feeling is to, run with it after them, but don't do it. You do the opposite of what you want to do. Are you getting it? So if you want your child to write, don't, run after your child and ask her to write. So what you can do is, you can sit and write. And then, don't invite your child when you're doing that. You just do it on your own. You just pretend that you're having a lot of fun. something that I did and it worked for me. And a lot of parents have come to me with the same question, and I've actually recommended this to them and it worked for them. You take a nice colorful paper, some colorful crayons or pencils, and then you sit and write the letter A and sit and color it and have fun with it, and let your child come and ask you, what are you doing? And then you tell your child that, you know what, I'm having a lot of fun with letter A. Can you please give me some time? Can you go do something else? Then they feel that FOMO, the fear of missing out. That's when they really want to get involved. And trust me, it really works. So this is one thing that you can try. The second thing is that, sometimes we make the activity very boring, that we give them a whole sheet and then we tell them that, write letter A from top to bottom, keep writing the same letter 100 times.
Yeah.
And it can get very irritating for them. So what you do is you just, the whole idea is to know that if they can write or not write, right? You just want to be sure whether your child knows it. So let them just write once or twice. Don't have to force them to finish the whole thing. I understand that the task that the school has given is to finish the whole sheet, but that whole sheet doesn't have to finish in one sitting. You can do it like, in multiple sittings. So what you can tell your child is that this is very easy. You just have to write it once today. And then after some time, after 1 or 2 hours of playing, you tell her, can you please write it once more? Can you just, and then after that, just once more. So what happens, your child is like, okay, it's just one time. It's going to take me less than, 10 seconds to write it. And then I'm on my own. I can do whatever it is that I want. And then, mommy is actually going to leave me. Don't like lie to your child that, just once and then you're asking, okay, do baar likh dijiye. No, if you're telling her one, stop at one. If you're telling her two, if you feel that she can write twice at one go, then you tell her twice and then stop after that. So what will happen is that, she will not find the activity very boring. She'll find it very easy. And when you find something easy, you want to do more of it. But when you find something boring and when you find it difficult, because, sitting for 20 minutes in one spot is difficult for them. And that not just sitting and writing is even more difficult for them. So when you actually do it, the first few times you have to really try and make it fun. If you can make it fun the first few times, then it's going to be fun forever. But if you make it boring in the first few times and forceful in the first few times, then it's going to be boring forever. It's going to take you some time to make it an interesting thing for them. So, like once or twice you do it, let go, and then you get her back. So then she'll be like, this is so easy. I can easily do it. That is important. The third thing is that, overcorrection. Sometimes we want that perfect A. We keep erasing it and we tell them that nahi, acha nahi hua. Imagine if I give you some Chinese text right now, Mandarin or something, and we're like, you write it. Then, you've written it, but it's not up to the mark. I'm erasing it, like write it again. And then I'm erasing it and then, write it again. No, let the first version be there. No, it's of course it's not perfect. You know it, and your child will also know it when she does her version too. So let her draw, like, let her write letter A. Maybe it's not the best letter A, but don't erase it. Let it be there. Then, you tell her that, next time when she comes, you tell her you can do a little better. Like the first time when you wrote, it's nice, but I think this line for A should be more slanted. So can you try this time, like making a more slanted line? So what happens is that in the first time, if you start correcting her too many times, then she'll feel that this is so difficult. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to be able to do it. But in the first time, if you accept what she's done, and then you move on, and then you tell her that, it's nice, but maybe this can be a little better. Let's try doing it like this now. So then she's going to do it, and she can see both the versions, right? She can see what she's done before, and now she can see also what she's done the second time. And then you tell her, you know what, this is much better. So then she knows that, if I try, I can improve. And then the third version will be even much better. And then, gradually she'll be so confident and she'll be, every time I'm doing it, mommy saying much better, much better. So you're making it more fun for her. You're making it sound like she can do it. Now she's more interested in the activity and now she'll have more fun with it. So do all of this. Then, you make letters like, that suji tray, take suji or rava on a tray and write those letters. All those kids will do easily. When it comes to paper and pen, they have a little, problem because we make it very boring. So it's very easy to lay the blame, that my child doesn't want to do it. But sometimes it's important to actually question yourself. How can I make it more interesting for her? Instead of change the problem statement. Instead of saying that my child doesn't want to do it, the problem statement should be, how can I make this more interesting for her? The minute you change the problem statement, a new solution will stand before you. Because what happens if your problem statement is the same, you are going to keep trying the same thing over and over again. And if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you keep getting the same result. But if you want a different result, you have to do things differently.
Mm-hmm.
So change the problem statement. And this is something that I tell all the parents in my community. Every time you have a problem with your child,
Mm-hmm.
change the problem statement. Make the problem statement about yourself, about you, and not about the child. So if my child is being stubborn, what can I do which will help my child be less stubborn? Instead of saying, how can I change my child? Or how can I help my child be like, what can I do? So then you'll first see, okay, this is what I can do for myself. And then, these are things that I can try with my child. So everything, every problem that you face, you change the problem statement. If the first solution is not working for you, change it, and then you'll get a new solution. And then you try that with your child. And then you'll definitely see an improvement in the behavior or in whatever it is that you are wanting to achieve.
Okay, now this is very interesting. It gave me a new perspective and I'm sure कि listeners को भी एक नया perspective मिला है. तो रिद्धि आपने हमें कुछ in the moment strategies दी, आपने हमें कुछ long term strategies दी. But मान लीजिए एक situation और मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूंगी जो बहुत ही common है, throwing tantrums in public places, like when kids are at a shopping center, कि वो किसी toy के लिए एकदम वहीं पर लेट जाएंगे या फिर दे डोंट वांट टू गो होम फ्रॉम पार्क. ऐसा होता रहता है. तो मोस्टली क्या होता है कि हम पेरेंट्स ही एम्बैरेस्ड फील करने लगते हैं. आई डोंट नो व्हाई बट इट हैपेंस. तो ऐसे सिचुएशन में इन द मोमेंट हम ऐसा क्या कह सकते हैं अपने बच्चों से कि वो मान जाए, या फिर हम पहले से उनसे कुछ कहकर जाएं, उनको धीरे धीरे समझाते रहें, क्या कर सकते हैं?
So you've already actually answered your own question, Maitri. So I'll tell you what basically क्या होता है कि the problem which I feel is that there is a gap between what we are expecting and what we are communicating. So, our expectations are there from our children, but we are not communicating the behavior that we are expecting. तो अब दुकान में पहुंच गए, बच्चे को टॉयज दिख रहा है, so it's very normal for a child to want. It's going to be strange if your child is not going to want anything from the shop, So that is when you should really worry. But if your child is actually asking you for something, it's a great thing. It means that your child is a child and is behaving like a child and is wanting things from the shop. So, but now if you don't want that and if you feel that's embarrassing you, then what you have to do is before you go to the shop, and maybe 2-3 days in advance, if you actually plan that on the weekend you're going to take your child shopping, you keep talking about the shop. You tell him that we are going to go to a shop, there'll be many toys, but you can pick one toy, not all the toys. Only one toy you are allowed to get from the shop. So you're telling him, you're setting the expectations right. Okay. Then you can tell him that different toys will be at different prices. We are going to only buy a toy which will be in this price range. So if you have a budget that you want to spend, you can tell him that there'll be many toys, but mommy is going to show you toys which will be within this budget, and we have to pick one toy in this budget. So now again, you're preparing. The third thing I want to say, that you cannot cry when you go to a shop, because if you cry, then mommy cannot take you back, because there are other people in the shop and they'll all get disturbed. So this is one thing that you have to keep in mind, that there's no crying allowed. If you want something, you ask me patiently, and if I still cannot get it for you, maybe next time when we go to the shop, we can get it for you. But this time, these are the 3 rules. If you agree with me, only then can we go to the shop. Make your child agree. Tell your child that, is it okay? Can I have your promise? Can you promise that you'll behave like this? Are you sure? And all of this. So you've communicated what you're expecting. You've also asked for approval and commitment, taking your child's commitment that this is how your child is going to behave. And then you go. And you've also set a limit and a consequence, that if you don't do this, the limit is that, limit is these 2-3 actions that you have to take care of. If you don't do these 2-3 actions, and the consequences, we are never going back to the shop. So that is the consequence that your child has to go through. Same for park time. You tell your child that, today I'm going to go to the park. If you don't come back with me easily when I ask you to, then tomorrow you'll get no park time. And then follow your rules. Okay, like if you're setting rules, it's very important to follow through. Don't just make rules and break rules, because then they are not even rules. And this is the most difficult part, I feel, because as parents, it's more difficult for us to follow through. Forget about the children. We break our own rules. So if you start breaking your own rules, then you're setting that pattern for your child. Your child will understand, my mother is like this, she'll make a rule, then I'll cry a little, she'll get intolerant, she'll give up, and she'll give me what I want. So this is the pattern your child will pick up. But you don't want to set this pattern for your child, right? So if you're making a rule, you have to follow through. Otherwise, don't make that rule. You see what your personality is, what your temperament is, how tolerant are you. If you feel that you'll not be able to follow through, Don't make that rule. Make a simpler rule which you feel that you can follow through. So, like if you actually communicate the behavior in advance, then you are more likely to expect them to behave a certain way when it actually happens. The worst thing to do is when it's already happened or when it's happening, that's when you start communicating. It has negative effect. In fact, they're not registering anything, plus you're burning your energy trying to explain how to behave. So that is the worst time to actually talk to them, when they're crying for a toy, and that's when you're telling them कि मैं आपको कभी नहीं लेके आऊंगी, आप ऐसे करते हैं. This is the last time.
Oh,
This is what mostly we do, This is the last time I'm getting you to the shop. I'm done with you. Now I'm never getting you to a toy store again. Is this how you behave? Is this what I've taught you? Is this what mommy teaches you every day? Look, everybody is looking. Look, uncle, auntie are looking at you. This is what we do. But now it's not. Now your child really wants it. And it is not your child's fault. It's because you didn't set the expectations right. So now when we go to the airport, you start preparing your child in advance that you have to keep wearing the mask. You cannot go to the airport and tell your child, right, now you have to wear the mask. You have to prepare your child in advance, 3-4 days before you actually go or before you're going to travel. These are things. So if you communicate the behavior, then the likelihood of you actually getting that behavior from them is much more. If you don't, if you just keep thinking about it in your head and you're very lazy to communicate it, then you should not expect it. And the communication has to happen at the right time. It has to happen before, or it has to happen after, much after it has taken place, before it happens again. But it cannot happen when the behavior is taking place. That's the worst time to communicate a behavior. So I think if you do this, it's mostly about communicating the rules and the expectations, also setting limits and consequences for your kids. And the third is following through. If you're setting a rule, follow through. Don't break your rules. If you do manage these 2-3 things, then I think mostly you'll achieve everything in terms of the right behavior. Sometimes, with some kids, it might take longer. Some kids, it might happen immediately. That would depend on the temperament of the child. Every child is different. So some kids can give you a very hard time. Some kids can be very easy. So that would depend on how lucky you are.
Okay. मतलब थोड़ा लक तो चाहिए ही. But mostly ये strategies चाहिए. And I am also going to change my way of parenting from this moment, because मुझे बहुत सारे actionable ideas मिले हैं अभी रिद्धि से. And Riddhi, are there any books you recommend? Like अगर हम अपने बच्चों को good behavior के ऊपर कोई book पढ़ाना चाहें, are there any such books?
So there is this very beautiful book called Parents Effective Training. It's a very nice book. It tells you, it's more about how parents can really communicate to get the right behavior from their children. How you should choose your words right, and what is it that you can do right to get the right actions from your child. So I think that's a very, very good book. And if you want like a lot of book ideas, then you can go to my website, riddhideorah.com. There are many articles on books to read during pregnancy and books to, read like after you become a mother.
Okay. So I will link this book and your website in the show notes so people can check it out. So Riddhi, this was a wonderful conversation. So you just mentioned your website. Is there any other way to connect with you?
So on Instagram, I have this, I am most active on Instagram. My handle is Riddhi_Deorah. And I have a lot of content on parenting, mindfulness, activities to try with your kids, books to read, and a lot of content on parenting, what brands I use for my son. So there's a lot of information on parenting on my Instagram handle. And I've just created a YouTube channel. I have a few videos up, and I plan to put up one video every week. So you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel to stay updated.
It's also Riddhi Deorah, your channel?
Yes, my YouTube channel is Riddhi Deorah. Instagram is Riddhi_Deorah.
Okay, cool. तो Riddhi का Instagram page मैंने देखा हुआ. It is amazing, full of amazing ideas if you're a parent for you. So do check out her Instagram page, her website, and also her new YouTube channel. तो मुझे बहुत सारे actionable ideas मिले हैं, आपको भी मिले होंगे. So to help more parents, इस एपिसोड से अपना एक टेक अवे आप Instagram पे शेयर कर सकते हैं. Don't forget to tag @LittleFixesPodcast and @Riddhi_Deorah. अगर आपको ये एपिसोड पसंद आया तो इसको आप शेयर कीजिए दूसरे पेरेंट्स के साथ. इनफैक्ट आप व्हाट्सएप पे भी शेयर कर सकते हैं. So please subscribe to Little Fixes Podcast on your favorite podcast app and do rate and review us on Apple Podcast. अब मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट वेडनेसडे को. तब तक के लिए लाइफ में मजे करो और सदा सैसी रहो. बाय.